I visited a church that worships everything. I'm LT and this is Backpack Religion. Would you believe me if I told you there's a church where a pentagram and a cross coexist? Well, there is, and it's called a Unitarian Universalist church. Unitarian Universalist churches are liberal churches that promote inclusion and don't tend to promote dogmatic creeds. They tend to focus on people's individual spiritual enlightenment. If that means someone adheres to a more satanic view of the world, that's fine. If that means someone thinks the Quran holds valuable truths, that's also fine. Everyone's on a journey and no one can judge that journey as long as it doesn't harm anyone else. Knowing all that, I really wanted to know what a UUC service is like. If the denomination in general doesn't really claim to have any strong dogmas, what do they preach about? Are there even sermons to begin with? These were the type of questions I had, and there was only one way to find out. When I first arrived, there was like this book study going on, akin to Sunday school for my Protestant viewers. The book and the discussions tackled an array of topics including Christian nationalism, oppression in the Bible, and the bigotry of traditional Christianity. As I stated earlier, Unitarian Universalists tend to be liberal and generally oppose Orthodox traditions. There was one person there who said he voted for Trump and didn't necessarily fit in the liberal camp, but he was certainly an anomaly there. And that was especially made clear when one of the members afterwards came up to us and mentioned to us that that particular person was a Trump voter, even though everyone else pretty much wasn't. I'm not sure if he told us that because it was like a brag that they are this inclusive that they even have a Trump voter, or if it was supposed to be a warning. Not entirely sure, but either way, it was such an anomaly that he made it known to us. Afterwards, we went downstairs, not to where the sanctuary was and where the pentagram and cross coexisted. I'll get to that later. Downstairs is where the regular service was being held, and it wasn't quite like anything else I've ever experienced at church service. I'm accustomed to sermons and worship, but that's not really what I got there. Rather, I experienced something more mystical and experiential. I'll explain to you what I mean. We started with two opening questions. How does loss or grief make you feel? And the second question was, who or what do you turn to for comfort? We were supposed to discuss these questions and answer them according to our comfort level with someone we didn't know. That was at least the preference of the speaker that day. But being the awkward person I am, I just talked with my brother. And that took about 20 minutes along with some general introductions from the speaker for the day. Following these discussions, we had this breathing exercise, and it wasn't like a slow, methodic, peaceful breathing exercise. It was like really upbeat. It was like African music as the guy in the background kept saying, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. It was like really up pace. Like it didn't make me feel relaxed at all. It actually kind of made me feel anxious and like I was hyperventilating. It was very odd, to say the least. Apparently it was supposed to help me experience the moment with having my feet planted on the ground and eyes closed and focusing on my breath, but I don't think it really accomplished that for me. And you may be wondering, what does this have anything to do with grief? Well, we were supposed to be in the moment and understand the world around us, which also includes loss and hardship. Therefore, we're supposed to sort of come to terms with grief. Which then led into our next exercise, which felt almost like a project from elementary school, not gonna lie. We were supposed to take dead leaves and petals and create little art pieces around the room representing what comes to our mind and what we feel in our heart when grief arises. Again, this isn't something I'm really accustomed to. This is kind of different for me. It was supposed to be a moment of like self-expression and letting your creative side come out about grief specifically. And when it was all said and done, we were supposed to walk in silence, looking at everyone's art pieces and just sort of taking it in as calm background music played. It was a different experience. And then it ended with a closing and benediction from the speaker, summing up the entire service. Apparently not every service is like this. Apparently they do have like teaching services that are a little bit more sermon based, but they had a guest speaker that time and they were really wanting to focus on the experience, not teaching really. And just like the one I experienced, they tend to pull spiritual practices and teachings from multiple faith traditions, multiple cultures from all across the world. They don't exclusively focus on the Bible, and they generally have the underlying principle of inclusion across everything. But what about those decorations from earlier? I didn't feel comfortable at all times of just pull out my camera and record the entire service I was at, but I was able to record most of the sanctuary when I got into it. You could find a Buddha, icons, a pentagram, a cross, and other religious symbols. It was a rather beautiful sanctuary architecturally, and did definitely emphasize this idea of inclusion and everyone belongs, which I think really ties everything together. Unitarian Universalists are basically humanists with a spiritual appetite. They're all united by these liberal principles, but sort of have their own spiritual beliefs and idiosyncrasies that make them unique. Kind of like this decoration. Everything is attached to the same ornament, hanging from the same rod. Although the ends of the ornament are all unique, representing different religions. So perhaps they do have a creed. Maybe even what you may call a dogmatic creed. It just happens to be a creed of inclusion, allowing for multiple paths of enlightenment. Just like this channel helps enlighten you on different religions and how they perceive the world. Thank you for watching, and subscribe if you gain value from this video. And after you leave a like, let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts on Unitarian Universalists, or where would you like me to go next? Until the next video, farewell.